Morning, everyone. Everyone hear me okay? Cool. So as you mentioned, I'm Brian Nadres. I'm the Director of Programmatic Media Buying at the Media Kitchen. And I'm here today to convince agencies to start building programmatic capabilities into their search teams. When programmatic media first came about, it made the most sense to concentrate operations to a specialized group of folks that could focus solely on programmatic media. So like most agencies, we centralized our programmatic buying to a trading desk. But over the last year, we've started to decentralize our programmatic buying, bringing the capabilities directly to each of our teams via our search group. And so far, everyone's been really happy with it. Our clients are happy with the added transparency and results. Our planning teams are happy having more oversight and control over their buys. And our search teams are happy growing their skill sets, becoming much more marketable professionals. But let me take a step back, tell you a little bit about myself and how we all got to this point. So my background is in paid search, but I actually started my career at Deloitte as a public accountant, auditing private equity financials. I know it sounds like a really fun job, but it actually really appealed to my numbers side. I even took the time to get my CPA. But I got drawn to paid search because it wasn't just about quantitative investigations, but it was also about making impactful changes based on my insights. I love this idea that my clients relied on me to make in-the-moment decisions to help them grow their businesses. And probably the best example of this was my first Black Friday as a search marketer working on the Dell account. The mandate from our clients back then was pretty simple: make as much revenue as possible. So the night before Black Friday, I made my last-minute preparations, tripling our budget allocations to get ready for the influx in traffic. So, and then I woke up early the next morning, expecting to do a simple check-in on my accounts. Opened up my Google, Yahoo, and Microsoft accounts. No Bing back then yet. And I was shocked to find that we had nearly hit our entire allocated budget. So I scrambled for the rest of the day, analyzing intraday results, increasing and decreasing budget caps across hundreds of campaigns, and outbidding competitors that just tried to take our positioning on top-performing terms like Black Friday laptops or Dell Black Friday deals. I worked tirelessly all day and night, but by the end of it, I was strangely satisfied. And I think it's because by midnight, I was able to drive the most revenue the company had ever seen from search in one day. Now, that type of real-time analytical decision-making and the sense of accomplishment, that sense of satisfaction that surrounds it, should sound familiar to anyone that's ever run a programmatic buy. And that's because paid search was one of the first, if not the first, programmatic channel. To borrow from Digiday's own definition of programmatic advertising, paid search uses software to purchase digital advertising on search engines. But yet, I always thought it was funny because in the mid-2000s, when ad exchanges were first introduced, search marketers weren't at the forefront to make programmatic RTB buys. And I've come to realize that that's because paid search and programmatic RTB were technically in different phases of their respective industry life cycles. Paid search was in the growth phase. In the years prior, it had already proven itself as a profitable advertising channel, so agencies wanted to bring those capabilities in-house. Search teams became focused on becoming more unified part of agency teams, aligning their strategies to form more holistic media plans, and also working with clients in a more integrated fashion. Programmatic RTB, on the other hand, was more on the introduction phase. It was just in its infancy, so attention was being placed on two fronts: selling this brand new buying concept to agencies and clients, and proving out the worth of this brand new buying concept by driving results, typically done by folks that were closest to the technology. So the timing just wasn't right for search professionals to step into programmatic RTB buys. But today, I believe that search marketers, the climate is now right for search marketers to begin handling programmatic RTB buys. DSPs are much more intuitive to use. Clients are looking for more transparency into their programmatic buys. Our search team is a much more integrated part of our agency, understanding the full scope of our clients' media plans. And they're just much more trusted by our clients, having helped them demystify paid search. Because of these trends, we've decided to rebrand our search team as the Programmatic Media Buying Team, and have started running buys directly through them. Now, I know what you're thinking, and yes, it did take some time for my search team to get up to speed with programmatic media, but it didn't take as long as you'd think. Despite the challenges that are commonly associated with understanding programmatic media, my search team grasped the concepts pretty quickly. And I wasn't surprised because I think throughout my tenure as a search professional, I've realized that search folks are actually just a big bunch of geeks that really get ad tech. And probably the best example of this was at my previous agency around the time when Facebook first IPO'd, or well, when they IPO'd. I was put in charge of building Facebook advertising competencies with self-service platforms. I met with every team within the agency, demonstrating campaign setup, optimization levers, reporting. And I thought this was all pretty cool and cutting edge stuff, but most of the folks I met with had a lot of negative reactions to them. I remember the worst of it was probably when something like, you're expecting me to do that? Or how am I supposed to do this on top of everything else I have to do with my clients? Or just flat out, this is too complicated for me, I just don't get it. I just don't think that they were able to see the benefits of this new ad tech because they were so concerned about the added work and the added risk that came with working with these self-service platforms. But I did meet with a minority group. They were much more optimistic. Their questions and comments were much more inquisitive. What are typical bidding strategies? What are the best metrics to look at to optimize my campaign? Or just flat out, this is great, when can I get started? I would say about 95% of the folks that I met with that fell into this optimistic group came from a paid search team. Now, they weren't concerned about the added work or the added risk because they deal with it all the time in paid search. So they were able to see the full possibility, the full potential that this new ad tech could offer them. And I found these same types of traits within my search team at the Media Kitchen. They're fascinated by new ad tech, and working with it comes naturally. We actually even created a new role for one of our paid search vets called the Digital Engineering Director, whose primary focus is to vet and implement new ad tech across the agency. He's even gathered some recruits and formed the Digital Engineering Committee. And they're currently focused on ad tech issues such as viewability, ad fraud, cross-device attribution. And they even have this monthly newsletter that kind of keeps the agency up to date. My search team is curious, they're eager, and they're fearless when it comes to new ad tech. And that's the foundation that we wanted for our programmatic buying team. But even though we're starting with our search team, our vision at the Media Kitchen is to make the entire agency proficient in programmatic media. So on top of running buys, our programmatic team is focused on education. We present 101 decks, 201 decks, 301 decks to folks that are new to programmatic media, defining the players, the tech, and how it all works together. We're also providing step-by-step details into how we set up, manage, and optimize each of our buys. We are also keeping the agency up to date on all the latest programmatic trends. And finally, we're introducing our teams to programmatic partners that we feel would work best for each of their respective clients. In turn, our media strategists or media generalists are helping to educate our clients on programmatic media. They're also working with publishers to find more efficient ways, more ways that they can be more efficient with programmatic tactics and ways that they can target their audiences more precisely. They're also working with our clients to allow for more budget fluidity, enabling us to move dollars to and from programmatic channels. So as a result, we're doing more of our buys programmatically. As an example, for one of our largest clients, we've been able to shift about 30% of our publisher direct buy to private marketplaces for 2015. So our vision at the Media Kitchen isn't just to have search teams run programmatic buys. It's about search teams becoming the catalyst that helps transform the media kitchen into a programmatically empowered agency. I'll leave you all with one final statistic, one that we're probably all aware of, or else we wouldn't be here. Emarketer expects programmatic media to comprise of 63% of all US digital ad spending in a year, in 2016. So that's pretty much a year from now. So whether you're a DSP, a trading desk, an agency, a publisher, the entire advertising industry is going to need professionals trained in programmatic media to meet this demand. The question is, are your organizations properly staffed to handle this influx in programmatic activity? I assume most agencies aren't. But if you train your search teams in programmatic media, you probably will be. Thank you.
So we'd now like to open it up to some questions for anyone that would like to ask Brian anything. Anybody in the audience? I have a question. I noticed the maturity and kind of the decline parts of that one slide. How far off are those two phases?
I mean, I think with programmatic, we're still very far off. I would say we're even at the cusp of that. We're just starting to get into that growth phase. I mean, again, I feel like this conference in general is a sign of that. But I feel like there are a lot of clients out there from the high medium, low medium, smaller size that really are just getting their feet wet with programmatic media. So I think we're a ways off with that, and not to mention, other things that could turn programmatic. I mean, TV is starting to become programmatic, so I think we're a ways off from that.
For your one client who now you're going to put 50% of its budget into private exchanges, what happened? I mean, what really kind of clicked to make that happen?
Yeah, so I think in the years prior, we were trying to work through our trading desk to find those private deals. And then we kind of took a step back and realized, well, we actually have a lot of these relationships directly with the publishers. Well, why don't we just set them up ourselves? So we actually made an effort to have each of our planning teams, when speaking to each of our publishers, to say, okay, great, this is what we've been doing with our publisher direct buy. How can we leverage programmatic channels? How can we leverage private marketplaces to make our buys more efficient? So we kind of attacked it from that sense, adding it as part of our entire planning process. And so that's kind of what led to that push. And we worked with publishers to find the best mix of that based on what we've been running with them directly and how private marketplaces could complement that.
When you are having that conversation with publishers, who's leading kind of the push towards programmatic? Is them or is it you guys?
It's us. And most of the time, actually, with this round, I think we caught a lot of publishers off guard because we were dealing with more of our direct sales teams. And then we threw in this line item within our RFP that starts talking about programmatic, and they're kind of they were a bit shocked with it. So they got to bring in the programmatic specialist. They probably have to get themselves trained on programmatic media if they haven't really done so already. So that's kind of how it went about.
Mm-hmm. Any questions from the audience? Over here.
Yeah, you talked about 63% overall industry-wide going. What percentage is the Media Kitchen right now as far as spending going programmatic?
It's hard to say. Again, given that one of our largest clients shifting to private marketplaces, about 30% of their buy. Not to mention that we also have a bunch of existing programmatic RTB buys. I want to say it's around 50-50, but that doesn't hold for all our clients. So some clients are more, I guess, programmatically evolved, if you will, and some folks are literally just dipping their toes in there. So I would say that's why it kind of skews 50-50, because there is still this kind of, we still have some work to be done in terms of the education process.
Any other questions? Oh, over here.
What does private marketplace mean to you?
What does private marketplace mean to you?
Sure. So to us, that's essentially, I think we've been starting to approach it from, again, if we look at the spectrum in terms of open auction and publisher direct being on opposite sides, private marketplace is pretty much sitting somewhere in the middle there. And again, we've been trying to approach it from that kind of site direct portion of it. So in essence, doing what we do with any of our buys, but essentially making it easier, whether it's operationally or whether it's targeting our audiences more precisely. To us, that's what private marketplaces are allowing us to doing. And it still has a bit of that high touch point, if you will, working with publishers directly to kind of figure out the nuances of it as opposed to just going into the open exchange for it.
So it is an automated process?
Yes, automated in the sense that we'll be able to control bids, the audiences that we overlay. So far, setting up a lot of these private deals hasn't been automated to that respect, but there are portions of automation in there.
And that's all the time we have. Thank you so much, Brian. I appreciate it.